be easy. Everywhere I look, something reminds me of her.
There was one movie announcement that caught me off guard this year. It would have to be a Naked Gun Legacy sequel starring Liam Neeson. Given that's coming out this week, I thought it'd be a good time to take a look back at a franchise that defined slapstick comedy. Obviously, when discussing slapstick, Airplane comes to mind, essentially redefining Leslie Nielsen's career, and I'm gonna say something I'm just assuming is wrong. I prefer The Naked Gun. Not that that should be an issue, they're both highly acclaimed, successful movies, but to be honest, that's only coming down to preference. The premise of Leslie Nielsen playing a bumbling police lieutenant has this unforgettable appeal. It's not that Airplane isn't an extremely important movie that I do still love, but for whatever reason, I always come back to this. By this I mean the first movie. I wouldn't call it a successful trilogy by any means, and in light of a sequel nobody thought we'd get, I wanted to take a look back on these. It actually began in 1982 with the crime comedy Police Squad, created by Airplane creators Zucker, Abrahams, and Zucker, known as EAZ, which also starred Nielsen as Frank Drebin, but despite being apparently well received, the series only ran from March 4th to July 8th, releasing a mere 6 episodes. In an interview on a DVD release, Nielsen said to ABC's entertainment president, Tony Thomopoulos, the cancellation came down to viewers having to pay too close attention to get that much out of the humor. Simpsons creator Matt Groening stated it would have been a smash hit 20 years later, and was simply before its time, as in 1982 the average viewer couldn't keep up with the pace and quick-fire jokes. I can't speak to if that's the reason, but it does seem apparent it was cancelled too soon. For that reason, it fits in today perfectly, ironically enough, but CAZ still wanted to make a movie using Lee Marvin's M Squad as a basis. Police Squad actually came to be because they couldn't think of an idea, and upon continuing to make movies they still desired to create a police spoof comedy. So using the Police Squad concept and adding a romance element to establish a plot, the movie was quickly greenlit by Paramount. As for the development, it was definitely unique, or at least a new take on it.
Yes, well, when I see 5 weirdos dressed in togas stabbing a guy in the middle of the park in full view of 100 people, I shoot the bastards. That's my policy.
That was a Shakespeare in the Park production of Julius Caesar, you moron.
If you don't know what made The Naked Gun, or for that matter, Airplane, so good, it came down to the way these movies handled comedy. Casting actors who had not done comedy before to get a more straight approach, and the result was dramatic timing opposed to comedic timing to pull off the humor. This influenced a lot of the casting choices, obviously Nielsen included, and the film was written in a backwards manner, establishing a plot to assassinate the Queen, which led to the Queen visiting a baseball game, and then the rest of the elements were set in place. Personally, I believe it's what led to the film receiving the acclaim that it did, being deemed one of the best comedies of all time, and I can't disagree. It's not my all-time favorite, I'm a huge Monty Python fanatic, I love Mel Brooks, and if slapstick comedy is done correctly, it doesn't get much better for me. We'll soon get into how not to do this, but the original Naked Gun movie knew exactly how to time stuff and how often it should be used. The opening scene makes it apparent immediately. America's enemies trying to conceive a plan to humiliate the USA, and being taken out by Frank Drebin in many different comedic fashions. I talk a lot about how important the opening scene is, especially in movies like this when it doesn't even affect anything. So establishing the type of comedy which this does, and our lead, which this also does, really is the best way to kick off a movie.
I'm Lieutenant Frank Drebin, Police Squad. And don't ever let me catch you guys in America.
The comedy continues immediately after, with the perfectly timed Weird Al cameo, who was a fan of Airplane, and the way they present this may be the best example of the aforementioned straight humor.
How a man can hurt inside.
Frank, they're not here for you. Weird Al Yankovic is on the plane.
The cameo only lasts a second, it has no lasting relevancy, but I'll tell you, it's just right. That's the main thing the movie does so well. There is a plot and antagonist, meaning it's not quite as simplistic as Airplane, but at no point do they pretend anybody really cares that much. Yeah, if you're a bad guy, Ludwig, played by Ricardo Montalban, and his plan to assassinate the Queen. Mandatory love interest Jane Spencer, played by Priscilla Presley, who appears in every movie. And other recurring cast members such as George Kennedy as Captain Ed Hulkin, and O.J. Simpson as Detective Northberg. Yeah. Luckily, he's not in much of this movie, serving only as a plot device, mainly there to be tormented. But in the other two movies, he's way more frequent, not really adding much of anything, and well, the acting is pretty bad, even earning him a Razzie in the third movie. That's actually a mistake I could see the new movies making, trying to do something too complex nobody wants. But due to all these movies, including the new one having a relatively short runtime, that mistake is yet to happen. If that did, it'd be a complete mess, but the movie really understood, limitations, and what the audience wants to see. Notable gags that really stood out to me include the exchanging money bit.
I don't know. My memory ain't so great.
Oh, yeah? Maybe this will refresh your memory. I can't tell you that.
Well, maybe this'll help. Can you spot me at 20? How about now?
All right, I'm going down to Ludwig's office. I'll find out if you're telling the truth.
Telling him to use his open eye.
I can't see anything.
Use your open eye, Frank.
Oh, yeah.
His car always hitting something, a gag that eventually escalates. That's such a smart way to take a recurring gag and make it into one of the movie's funniest moments. It's so ridiculous, it's impossible not to laugh at it. And then you have entire segments that were just complete comedic gold. The student driver bit is one of the best scenes in the movie. I don't think I need to explain why, it's just one fantastic gag after another. The straight humor is completely on point, and who could forget the explosive ending? The scene when he accidentally destroys Ludwig's office after he already killed his fish is just done so well. And of course, the scene that follows when he scales the building. It's the kind of thing that could so easily be taken too far, to the point of stupidity, but I don't think this does. I love the way they address it later.
Sexual assault with a concrete dildo.
Like it's not even out of the ordinary. And when he tries to save the Queen, without establishing any real danger yet, it has the expected outcome of him being fired. Like the rest of it, it flows perfectly. Nothing's taken too far, his reaction is realistic yet still somewhat unreasonable.
They can't kick you off the force, Frank. It's just not fair.
And it's that kind of tone that defines the movie and makes it so damn memorable. Now if you're a radical feminist, you'll have issues aplenty. These bits come to mind.
And the kind of legs you'd like to suck on for a day. She was giving me a look I could feel in my hip pocket.
Nice beaver.
Thank you. I just had it stuffed.
Let me help you with that.
It's the 80s, get over it. And elements like their romance, and even the entire bad guy plot, are really just a means to give us the amazing slapstick comedy. So opposed to James Bond that feels somewhat serious, you'd have to be insane to look too deep into this.
Because I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur.
A bit that I always found interesting is when he's in the kitchen and actually notices the food is all bad. I don't know if that's on purpose, but given all the food in the house is bad, and it's clearly been bad, it's an interesting scene to point out. Despite the simplicity of the plot, there are still unique ideas, most notably the element of controlling people. It does actually play a role in a number of scenes, and it's probably the most unique idea that isn't purely comedic. It's the kind of thing you'd expect to see in the latter movies, oddly enough, but you really don't get anything else like it. Again, something so sci-fi-like. It plays a role in the climax too, using the baseball player Reggie Jackson as an unwitting assassin. Speaking of the climax, it does not falter there either. The moment when he has to sing the anthem is beyond hilarious. One of my favorite moments, honestly. But him trying to frisk the players is really good too. Using a random woman as a hostage just to imitate him is so stupid it's funny. And who could forget his over-the-top death? Not only is it an overkill, but the way Hawkins says his dad went the same way is just so good. Not to mention ending on the perfect note.
Wonderful.
Oh, Frank. Everyone should have a friend like you.
And when I say perfect note, I mean even not knowing what we know now. If it isn't already very obvious, The Naked Gun is a legendary movie for very good reason. It knows exactly how to balance comedy, nothing is overdone, the plot is exactly what it should be, and most importantly, the jokes are fucking amazing. If Airplane showed Leslie Nielsen could do comedy, this movie proved it wasn't a fluke. Unfortunately, the sequels didn't prove as enduring. At least the first one.
I haven't had this much sex since I was a Boy Scout leader. I mean, at the time, I was dating a lot.
Let that distasteful joke be a sign. The Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear, is, like many franchises, the most commercially successful movie. That makes sense being the first sequel, back when we thought that was a good idea, and it, for the most part, had the same production. Again directed by David Zucker, the same principal cast, obviously some new faces, and upon releasing in 1991, it again received positive reviews, but was considered an inferior movie. That's definitely accurate, and while many movies get worse as they go, I consider this one to be the least good. In fact, it's the only one I don't like that much. It comes down to many factors, one being the premise, not doing anything to distinguish itself. It's not the same idea. We have a crazy oil tycoon trying to make the US dependent on fossil fuels and nuclear power, but it's the least interesting narrative of any of these movies. Not that you come here for the narrative anyway, but you really get the feeling it's happening because something has to happen. It could just be my opinion, but the only reason I notice it so much is because the main thing about this movie is not done that well. It's hard to pinpoint how slapstick comedy should be done. To keep things simple, it's the movie I laughed at the least. This becomes apparent with the opening bit already not being as good. It's not terrible, but it really didn't have me laughing. And moving into the unique credits that I haven't talked about yet, something all three movies do, a cop car going into places they could never go. It's not as funny in this movie, and it pretty much gets less funny as they go on, to the point of just using popular movies. That said, if the new movie doesn't do it, that's criminal, but the biggest problem with The Smell of Fear is not being as funny. Not only is the opening not as good, they utilized the classic breaking up between movies plot. It wasn't as overdone back then, but this moment when Drebin thinks about her, mainly what he thinks about, pretty much emphasizes the not as good comedy.
And breasts that seem to say, hey, look at these. She reminded me of my mother, all right, no doubt about it.
If that suits you, it suits you, but it has a cheap feel. It's not memorable or creative in any way, and that's kind of what the whole movie is. There's a fight scene in her apartment that lacks anything that creative. The pottery bit that imitates Ghost is fine, but nothing that great. You would think an out-of-control wheelchair would have to be funny, but it just isn't. It doesn't go anywhere. And while I do love a good Twilight Zone reference, especially one of the most iconic lines,
It's a cookbook.
it still has to fit in somehow. Given how iconic it is, just randomly throwing it in with no reasoning whatsoever, it comes across as lazy. We still have the franchise staple, his car hitting stuff, and it is still funny, but some reason when it doesn't in one scene, you notice it more than usual. You may think I'm nitpicking, but I honestly think the movie isn't as funny for a reason, and the fact is, I notice it because the movie still has a lot of good ideas. One scene at the bar that's supposed to be intentionally sad-themed is probably the best part of the movie, simply due to having most of the best gags.
On second thought, how about a Black Russian? Is it just my imagination, or is the whole world crazy?
You spend every possible waking moment together.
Well, I'm out running around with some 20-year-olds who just want to have a good time and cheap sex, girls who can't say no.
Obviously, you have the pictures on the wall, and him going to the wrong table is expected, but still really funny. It helps that the movie isn't that long, only about an hour and a half, and even with a short time to fill, it doesn't do a good enough job. Aside from the aforementioned scene, I just wanted to get to the end. Granted, the finale isn't the worst part. The van door getting stuck is a good bit. All the wrong men pulling out their guns, thinking they've been accused, that's really good. And given the finale does involve a bomb, how we get to that is not important. I do like how the solution is accidentally unplugging it. The verdict is the sequel does still have funny moments, but they're too few and far between to really justify its existence. One of the most apparent moments of this is having the main antagonist fall for an unintentional reason, like in the first movie, but this time he lands safely and gets attacked by a lion. I get that it's an escaped lion, the result of a scene earlier, but it still has a random feel that lacks any real impact. It's just the way this movie is, it's there, it didn't need to be there, and I can't think of any reason to ever go back to it. The plot isn't that memorable, more than half the gags don't work, and it's just a less good version of the original, and nothing you can't get from that. Obviously the new movie could go any way, that's anybody's guess, but 2.5, The Smell of Fear, is my current least favorite. Don't know if I'd say it's bad, but not that good. But what is good is hitting the like button. A lot of work went into getting this done in time, so it'd be highly appreciated, and subscribing is an option too. Don't forget the gaming channel has the same content with games. There's a link in the description.
Gets me out of breath just watching you, to Raquel. All Phil.
I'm supposed to read that.
But let's get to the subject at hand. Pick up the envelope.
Whenever a sequel comes out after a less than amazing sequel, and ends up being the first in the series to not have the same director, you automatically assume the worst.
Game over, man. It's game over.
With David Zucker only receiving credit for writing the screenplay, the new director being Peter Segal, and like the previous movies, Jim Abrahams and Jerry Zucker returned as executive producers. Segal appeared in the movie too, playing one of the producers in the final act, along with a few minor voice roles, and this movie would have a number of cameo appearances, a lot of which going uncredited. Again, same principal cast with a few additions, obviously some new bad guys, and even though it is technically the lowest rated movie, it's easily the superior sequel. Which was not what I expected, especially given the new director, but 33 1/3, The Final Insult, winds up being not the most fitting title. I mean, you know, metaphorically, it would have been a very obvious joke, but as obvious as me using an Aliens line. Like the previous movie, the opening scene defines what it will be like, only this time it's actually clever. It's kind of like a self-joke about the chaotic nature of these movies, tons of things happening at once, complete mayhem, not remotely out of place, but then it's revealed to only be a dream, and that's actually really smart.
Had a nightmare. It was crime all around me. I couldn't stop it.
Frank, it was just a dream.
I'm not gonna say that it subverts expectations, but I didn't expect the intro to remotely stand out. This time about a terrorist named Rocco, played by Frank Ward, assisted by his mother and girlfriend, Tanya, played by Anna Nicole Smith, are planning on bombing the Academy Awards ceremony, leading Frank Drebin to, you guessed it, come out of retirement. Yes, it's again a very similar premise, and yes, there again, gonna have Frank and Jane be separated, and that is an issue. I'm not gonna act like it isn't, continuously reusing overused cliches, but the main difference is it doesn't feel like the same thing. Technically, it's similar, but the execution isn't. This time he has to go undercover as a prisoner to befriend Rocco. That scene alone is full of hilarious bits.
I used to be white. I was a drummer for the Osmonds.
And eventually it leads to a climax. It doesn't feel anything like the last two movies. In fact, it's real good. The Academy Awards makes for a unique setting, so even if a lot of tired cliches are thrown in, it still doesn't feel like the same movie. Again, being slapstick, it can kinda get away with that. As long as you pull off that element, I can't complain too much. Part 2 mostly failed at both those things, having a premise that felt the same, events that went the same, and comedy that wasn't that good. The third movie did have some misses like these tired jokes at the supermarket, not exactly groundbreaking stuff. The old accidentally drinking piss gag fails to amuse, but it's very uncommon in this movie that I feel the comedy is lazy. A few times, yeah, it's not the first movie that was perfection, but some of the ideas they came up with were, in a way, criminally overlooked. Them still having gray hair in the disco era, and imagining their kids with it, some reason that's just really funny. Him accidentally killing his original lover and not realizing it, all the bad guys believing his obvious lie.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, it's good enough for me.
Me too.
I'm fine.
I'm not saying it's a new idea, but it just works. Opposed to the pedophile-esque like joke in the last movie, this was way more practical.
Didn't I try to adopt that 18-year-old Korean girl?
I'll admit Frank Drebin Jr. should probably be less questionable, but I do love that line. If you still need convincing this movie is somewhat underrated and too easily passed off as least good, they at one point give us 3 hilarious bits in a row.
You'll never get away with this.
Frank, isn't that a little unusual?
Not really. It's happened to me a couple of times.
You'll never stop, Rocco. Your chances are 1 in a million.
That's still better than any state lottery. If we can't stop them, they're going to blow that place sky high. It'll be a tragedy. Unless, of course, it happens during a dance number. Come on.
I could go on, the climax has no shortage of great ideas. And I don't just mean predicting the future, but imitating a future president. It does not slow down, it's entertaining as fuck. I still can't say it's the best climax, it's definitely close, part 1 was so good, but the way Rocco goes out may be the best villain demise.
Pap smear.
It's so ridiculous and stupid, I can't help but love it. It's not the first movie, but who cares, it's not supposed to be. And the ending, despite not really screaming the end until 2025, it is what it is.
Nordberg! Come back here!
Frank! It's a boy!
I know!
If you don't laugh at that, there's something wrong with you. And I do believe The Naked Gun, the final insult, is nothing of the sort. It's a very funny, enjoyable third installment. It may pale in comparison, but why do we need sequels to be as good? It delivers fun slapstick comedy, that's enough. But if it also has a plot that still feels unique despite cliche elements, it becomes a worthwhile sequel. I don't know if I'd say essential viewing, but enough to state The Naked Gun is a solid trilogy. That being said, in the grand scheme of things, a slapstick comedy can be very opinion-based, and I don't consider anything said to be factual, merely how I feel about it. For something like this, what else could it be? What somebody finds comedic is overall subjective. So if you did enjoy and laugh at the second movie, which I didn't, that's perfectly okay. Nothing more needs to be said. Again, it's slapstick comedy, but I do hope the new movie is there for more than just a cheap cash grab. I do question how something like this would fare today. Honestly, I never particularly saw Liam Neeson in this kind of role, but it's not going to be a long wait, so we'll know very soon how that goes. I just wanted to admire the legacy of these mostly fantastic movies, some of the finest slapstick comedies out there. So if you want to get into that genre today, this franchise and of course Airplane would be a good place to start. Again, I prefer this, but not by much, so if that isn't an issue, please consider sharing this video, as it does help the algorithm. You can also hit the like button, subscribe if you enjoyed, and of course the gaming channel is there too. I'll remind you again, the same content, but with games. Link in the description. I'm the Analyst, and remember kids, comedy is complicated, especially slapstick.